Given Ayers, since 1970 you made more than 10 solo LPs. In the beginning it was one every year, and then it became one every 2 years, and now the gap seems as though
that's what happens. I mean, sometimes you just run out of things to say, and I ran out of things to say. I didn't want to repeat myself all the time. I only had a certain amount of ideas to communicate, and when I found that I was either repeating myself or saying things I didn't really believe in, I thought that time now I should stop and wait until something else comes along, some new motivation.
The period where the machine starts hoarding, where the gaps get longer after a period of every year an album, was in fact about 1977, 78.
Well, it had a lot to do with a disastrous love affair. That includes the Fiji Islands and Australia and chasing around the world after a girl. And it was a bad time to do it because I was at the top of my career then. And I took a year off to chase this person all over the place. And you can't take a year off in this business, especially when you're, somewhere getting towards the top. But I did, and I lost a lot of my audience.
Some artists can. Bruce Springsteen can wait for 4 years before bringing a new album out. So.
Yeah, if you have to get to a certain point first, though. I didn't get to that point.
Have you plans for the near future now?
I've just started writing again after a break of about what must be 4 or 5 years now. I have fixed up a studio in my house, a little 4-track studio, and I'm starting to write and get people like Marvin to come over, and Ollie Housel and Mike Oldfield, I don't know, some friends. The problem is that where I live, there are no musicians available, so I have to sit looking at my tape recorder on my own, and it's not stimulating at all.
At the time we met, we were both working the same way with a tape recorder in a room alone, huh?
When Marvin came over the first time to stay with me, we worked nearly every night. It was just so nice to have someone.
Of course, we didn't let you come only for doing promotion for someone else's. Of course, we'll play some music of yourself as well, something of the Banana Mural Pain, Shouting in a Bucket Blues. Much of that early work doesn't seem to have aged that much.
My work?
Yeah. Not that it sounds like it's been recorded yesterday, but at least it doesn't sound awfully outdated.
Well, I think, I hope that the words, the sentiment that I'm talking about, I try to express, are basically things that happen day to day. They're always there. So in that respect, it shouldn't age.
No,
maybe the sound is a bit 60-ish, but the same problems relate. I mean, they're not. I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about fashions and things. I just talk about things, human behavior, things we do with each other.
The main attraction still in the whole of your music is your voice. It's a voice in a million, let's say. Do you like your own voice?
Sometimes I like it.
You realize that you could have made fortune with a voice like that.
I was offered some things, but to do commercial things, but I don't really like the idea of doing it. I don't want to go out and just try and sound sexy selling perfume or cigarettes or something.
No, you never, in your music, you never tried to exploit your voice.
No, they were always telling me to. All the producers always telling me to do something sexy and low down. But I don't know. As soon as someone talks about it, I get self-conscious and forget it.
Let's listen to some other music from the Dr. Dream LP, maybe. Everybody's sometime and some people's all the time blues. You were a little nostalgic when hearing that old music.
I remember trying to get Mike Oldfield to play the guitar solo. Because he'd just become famous then, so he was a bit eccentric and a bit prima donna.
Want dat is dus Mike Oldfield die gitaar opspeelt. Were you the one who gave him his first audience? Were you the one who discovered?
No, he was playing in a folk group he had with his sister Sally Oldfield, and I was auditioning for a group after my first album, and he came along, and I see immediately he was very talented, and he started off playing bass, and gradually I saw, he was playing much better guitar than I could possibly play. And we lived together for quite a while. He was in a very nervous and neurotic state. But he gradually pulled himself together, and I think the experience playing with me and the band helped him a lot, because he was working on the ideas for his first album, Tubular Bells. That came a lot out of the confidence from playing live. So he was very sure of what he wanted to do, and was very positive about it. And I remember him telling me right at the beginning, I know exactly what I want to do, and I know it's going to work. And he was right.
Yeah, now look what happened.
The same thing with us.
There's another story with a similar story with Andy Summers, maybe, who was involved with your solo career, but who also was.
Well, Andy has been playing longer than I have, almost. We first met when he was playing with, I think he was playing with Zoot Money in a group called Dantalian's Chariot. It was after Zoot Money and the Big Roll Band, in the days of psychedelia and all that shit. And we asked him to join Soft Machine. And that was when Soft Machine was myself, Robert Wyatt, Mike Rutledge. And
David
we asked Andy Summers to join us, and we tried a tour, and it didn't work out. So he went his way and did various other things, and I went my way, and eventually we wound up back together again. When I was solo, and we played some great gigs together, had a lot of fun. And I think he thoroughly deserves the success that he has, because he's worked very hard for a long time in all kinds of situations.
Next song we'd like to play is Where Do I Go From Here, featuring another remarkable guitar player, Geoff Whitehorn. Do you remember that session?
Now you mention it, yes, I do. I remember asking him for a solo on this song that had the feeling of a sort of Dire Straits, J.J. Cale feeling, but without actually sounding like a copy of it. And I think he did it pretty well.
En toen hoorden we dus Where Do I Go From Here uit LP That's What You Get Baby uit 1980. Het jaar waarin Kevin Ayers daaruit Werchter aandeed. En dat nummer heeft als openingslijn een paar merkwaardige lijnen waar we het nu toch even over gaan hebben. Where do I go from here and is it far? Why was I born with a wish to touch a star? Why can't I leave things alone and as they are? That's something about you write yourself.
That's exactly me. It's a lot of people as well. I mean, at some point in your life you have to ask yourself that question. Where do I go from here, and where the fuck is it?
But where do I go from here? Okay, everybody say that, but you say, where do I go from here, and is it far? And that's a dangerous tool in the hands of people who want to depict you as some kind of a lazy bum laying along sunny beaches, sipping exotic drinks all day long, doing
Well,
nothing.
they're just jealous, that's all.
That's right. He's a tiger.
How does it feel, in fact, to be regarded as, let's say, the champion of the Ivy League?
The Ivy League, or the Idle League,
Idol.
or whatever. Well, it's not strictly true. Yes, it's true that if I could get away with not having to work, I would be very happy. If I could earn a good living, or if I could live well without having to. I consider work anything that is unpleasant to do. Anything that's pleasant to do isn't work, even though some people think it is work. You might be doing a lot of things, but if it's fun, it's not work as far as I'm concerned. It's only work when it's unpleasant.
Yeah, but aren't there moments that you should do something more with what you bring out, and then to leave it to other persons and who can mess about with, like the sleeve
yes,
of that's what you get, baby. You're openly yawning on the sleeve, and
Yes, well, that wasn't my idea. That was out of my hands, which is always fatal. I keep saying I'll never do it again, but I guess I'm lazy in that respect. Because I have confidence in other people, and they sort of say they sound good when they're talking about the idea, but then when it comes out, it's not good, but then I get the blame. They don't get the blame.
yeah, but
It reflects on me,
are you trying to do something about that?
Well, if I succeed in finishing this album I've just started, well, I haven't started recording it. I've started writing some songs after a period of about 4 or 5 years of not writing. And if I can get that together, then it's going to be a new start. If I don't, there'll be no start. It's as simple as that.
Mm. The last record we know of you is a record that came out in Holland, or was brought out in Holland. And on that one you recorded a version of Bob Dylan's Lay Lady Lay.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you thought doing a version of that song?
I've always liked the song. I think it's a very sexy song, and it suits my voice. I sang it in low voice, my normal voice, and gave it a sort of reggae treatment to make it a bit brighter. And I basically love the song, and I hope that feeling comes through in the song.
You thought you could do more than the original version?
Yeah, I just thought I could make it maybe a little more sensual.
It was more fit for someone with a voice like you than with a nasal drown like.
Maybe. I don't know what Bob Dylan would say about that, but
we got a version of that song, and it's not the version it's on the album.
no, it's the original demo version of it.
And
the one you have.
Can you talk something about it? Because
well, I started making that album you were talking about. What was it called? Diamond Jack and the Queen of Pain.
Queen of Pain.
I started making it about 3 years ago with a Spanish group, and I liked it. I liked the way it was going, but the person who was my manager at the time, who was a Spanish man, didn't. He wanted to make it much more modern. He wanted to get, sort of techno sounds and all that crap, which I hate, actually.
Okay, we can talk about it afterwards. There you go, it's perfect.
About Lay Lady Lay, I have a friend called Annie, who I'd very much like to see, but unfortunately I lost her telephone number. If she happens to be listening, maybe she could phone into BRT2, and we could talk about something.
You're not pleased with the last, the Dutch record with Spanish people you made.
The Spanish record?
Yeah.
No, I didn't have very much to do with it. It was all produced by a Spanish producer who is very techno pop which, as I said, I don't like anyway. No, I wasn't pleased with it.
Everybody was afraid that Kevin Ayers was jumping on the disco.
No, I had nothing. I just wrote the songs, and they called me in to sing when it was my turn, and then they sent me away again, and that was all. I like a couple of tracks on it. I mean, some of the songs I like very much, but they weren't done the way that I intended them to be.
The way you intended them to be are on the cassette.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, much closer anyway.
And the Spanish musicians that are involved on the album are
different.
And guys that you didn't even see, maybe.
Yeah, I saw them vaguely.
There's one guy that works frequently with you and he was always around. That's Ollie Halsall.
Yeah, he's doing very well now. He's working in Madrid with his girlfriend Zana. And
Zana?
Yeah. Ollie and Zana, the famous duo. He's been playing guitar with and bass with Manzanita, who is a very popular singer of sort of gypsy songs and stuff like that. And Ollie's been doing a lot of session work and working with records for lots of Spanish singers and songwriters.
So in fact he followed your example to go to Spain? Or?
Yeah, he's in fact bought some land very near my house. He's going to build a house there eventually.
That's, do you need such a faithful companion?
Oh, I certainly do. I wish he was there now, because I find sitting on my own in my house very unproductive. That's why it's taking so long to, except when Marvin comes, yes. But that's why it's taking so long to get anything together, because there's no inspiration. It's just a place to hide away. It's quiet and it's a place to retire. You know, you feel like you're 60 years old there.
So he will be involved on the next project as well?
Yes, I think so.
And Marvin also?
Possibly.
Okay, Kevin, thanks a lot. We had no champagne to offer. It was something close to, but we hope that you didn't even need to take a Valium either, so...
Go home. Kevin Ayers, Champagne and Valium, and then Starvin Marvin, Working for Success. Kevin, could you tell us something more about Marvin's record?
Yes, I can. I will. I think that this first record is a good example of Marvin's talent as a songwriter. I think he has a lot of talent in that direction. I don't think this is the best way of presenting his music. I think it's actually much more imaginative, but we only had 4 days to make this album, which is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Basically, what I said before is that he has a much bigger fantasy and much more imagination than is conveyed on this first record. But I think it's a good example of his talent as a songwriter and potential.
Do you consider this as a start for Marvin?
Yes, we're already talking about the next one. And we're going to do a different job this time. I mean, next time.
Mm-hmm. Marvin, heb jij daar zelf nog iets aan toe te voegen?
Get me on flight number 707.
Oh, yeah.
Disconnected.